Alrighty, gang. Uh, I'm Mascot here from Node Nation, and want to thank the Forest Financial team for taking some time out of their busy days to come out here and answer some questions and tell us a little bit about their project. We have 4 members from the team here today, so with that being said, why don't you guys just go ahead and introduce yourselves, tell us a little bit about your project, what chain you're on, what you guys do, and kind of start the ball that way.
Great. Thank you, Mascot. So we are Force Financial. We're a DeFi as a service project that focuses on just giving sustainable return on investment to our investors. We don't offer huge ROI percentages as that's simply not sustainable. But we do offer higher than traditional markets such as stocks or real estate. So it's well above the S&P 500. Now, we invest part of, or we donate a part of our profits to reforestation charities throughout the world. It's our belief that, we need to do our part in reversing climate change, making it go into the right direction again. And we can do that by growing back a few forests and reducing carbon emissions throughout the globe. Eventually, we are going to release certain things to introduce more utility for the forest token, such as a marketplace, an academy. We're going to work with real world companies and just businesses in general to introduce them to crypto and DeFi. We have loads of things planned in regards to reducing carbon emissions through partners. So we have a lot planned. And we're going to launch the Forest token on Avalanche. Starting price will be $75. And I guess that's it for now. We're currently awaiting our pre-sale, which will occur on April 29th. And our full launch occurs on May 27th.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, and then a little bit about myself. I am Pim. I am the currently only doxed member of Forest Financial, one of the founders, together with Alexander. And I am responsible for organizing the marketing, the entire team, and just making sure that we go in the right direction.
Heck yeah.
So a little bit about me. As Pim said, I am Alexander, one of the co-founders along with him. And I am the developer. I code in Solidity, front-end web development. So I'm basically the one responsible for all the functionality of the app.
Sweet.
Cool. And then just a quick intro from my side. I'm Jay Dizzy. I am the treasury manager for Forest Financial. I've been a financial advisor in the traditional finance space for over a decade, so I've got a lot of experience managing funds for third-party portfolio management and managing assets in that space. And I've been in and out of crypto for quite a while as well. So I'm just looking forward to putting forward a portfolio and managing a treasury that's going to add a lot of value for the investors. I can get detailed into it, but I'll wait for some of the questions. I think that'll probably add a lot of value and insight there.
Excellent. Thank you for breaking down who's on the team.
We got Ses still.
Oh yeah, look at that. There he is. Go ahead, Ses.
Is your mic working?
Is he mobile?
I wouldn't know. Maybe.
Because sometimes on mobile, if you sit on mute too long, you have to restart the application. So Seth, if that is the case, just go ahead and leave the group chat or leave the AMA, restart your application, and come back up or come raise your hand. I'll bring you back. Yeah, there we go. Perfect. Well, in the meantime, C9 Kents has a question. We'll go ahead and bring him up. Do things kind of in a little different order today. What's going on, C9?
You guys hear me?
Yes, sir. Loud and clear.
Perfect. Awesome. How you guys doing today?
Doing great. How about you?
I'm good. I actually have two questions. The first one is I know that Pim, you're the only Doxed member, but when it comes to the rest of the team, is there plans to eventually get them doxed? And is there an audit as well that's going to be coming in where you guys will be looking into maybe like a Certic or assurance?
So yeah, regarding the audit, we have just finalized our pre-sale contract, and we have applied for a quote at Hacken for an audit. And regarding the docs, I am planning to doc myself soon. There is no exact date yet, though. So yeah, it will be soon. Will be announced soon. So no exact date yet.
Okay, perfect. And
And as for like other team members, well, some of us are already doxed, like our illustrator, Glenn. He actually made the trees that you see in our profile pictures. So
wow.
some
Okay.
of us are doxed, some aren't. But I believe we will move to a more transparent team in the future.
Awesome. Okay. And my second question is, there's a lot of projects that I've seen that have really started implementing NFTs just to get access to nodes and stuff. For example, like Hive and those type of things. Do you guys have any implementation of that as well within the tokenomics? Or is it just like the NFT will provide utility to, or like boosting or like anything of that sort to the protocol?
Yeah. So we have our core NFTs. So
Yep.
we are currently doing an NFT sale. There are the seed, sapling, and tree NFTs. The tree and sapling NFTs have been sold out, but you can go to nft.forest.financial and you will find still some seed NFTs available. They allow you to buy one yield tree in the pre-sale for a cheap price. So if you have one of those NFTs, a yield tree, which is our node basically, will cost you
Yeah.
$200. But in the public sale, it will cost you, or like when the public token launches, it will cost you $750. So it offers
That's
a
cool.
discount, but it also can be connected to one of the yield trees you own, and then it will give a permanent boost.
Oh, that's amazing. Okay, perfect. Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you very much for your questions.
Good question, brother. Alrighty, guys. Remember to use the AMA questions tab, preferably the Forest Financial AMA questions thread within that tab, just a little bit above the stage here, for all of your Forest Financial questions. So, moving forward, Bino has a list of questions that he wrote out. So I'll go ahead and read those off. Number one is, do you have a set percentage going towards the nonprofit activities for reforestation?
I'll answer that. We do not have a set percentage though yet. We do have some stuff. For example, the when you create a yield tree, you have to pay a monthly fee, and 50%, for example, of that will go to charity. But a base percentage overall, where we don't have one yet. I'm not sure if it will come either. But yeah, for the time being, there's no set percentage.
Gotcha. Makes sense to me. Good answer. What is the rationale behind the combined forest and AVAX price of a yield tree?
Mostly to introduce more money into the project. So obviously, you got your forest token, which is paired with AVAX in the liquidity pool. Which when you buy it, it raises the price, and when you sell, it lowers the price. But this way allows us to get more initial capital into the treasury. Let's say we do 100% forest, right? You pay for your yield trees with just only forest. That means that if we want to, use some of that money to actually do investments, we need to sell some of our forest to get some AVAX and then use that, which will lower the price. But if we ask for a little bit of AVAX instead of the same amount of forest, it would be in dollars, then that gives us actual AVAX to work with. That doesn't lower the price of forest, and basically lets us do more treasury investments. So that's really one of the main reasons we do that.
And what's the split on that? Is it 50-50 equal parts value?
No, it's so a yield tree costs 10 forest in like value. 7.5 of that will actually be forest, and 2.5 of that will be equivalent in AVAX. It will be automatically calculated, so there's no real manual calculation to be done or anything.
Gotcha. I like that. That's a cool idea. So you can kind of put some cash into the treasury without having to create to sell, which is really, you don't see a lot of projects doing that. That's interesting. I like that. A limit has been mentioned. What calculation or process will be used behind that final number of trees?
Yeah, okay. There will be a limit, but we are not sure yet to actually calculate it by some code or something. But yeah, we are still in discussion of what will determine the limit of the total yield trees.
The goal, however, is to make sure that we offer enough yield trees for investors to after the launch of Forest look at it for a couple of months and see the growth of Forest, and if possible still manage to get a yield tree. So it's really an initial investment thing. So the sooner you get in, the better. But it's never going to be the last people who got in are the unlucky ones. If you get a yield tree, you're quite well off. But an exact limit we don't know yet.
Gotcha. And what's the? Do you guys have an established launch price of the token?
Yes, $75.
Oh, beautiful. So then those 7.5 tokens is going to be pretty substantial. So really, it's going to be around a $600 investment at launch to get to be able to node up with a tree.
No, it's still going to be $750 because you have to have
equal value of the amount of the tokens.
Yeah.
AVAX. Gotcha.
Yeah. So you're spending $750 in any case.
Gotcha. Okay. Cool. Alrighty. So Wasabi has some good questions here. Who is the team's fund manager, and what is his background? Since there's been a big issue with node projects having investments that don't quite meet the requirements of the emissions rate.
Cool. I'll handle that one. That's me. I'm Jay Dizzy. I'm the treasury manager. So I'm actually a professional financial advisor and fund manager. And I've been doing that for over a decade. So I've got a lot of experience in traditional finance, managing assets. So pretty confident in that regard and competent. I agree that the node space at the moment, there's a big gap in terms of how funds are being managed. And one of the common questions you'll see in AMAs is are you going to invest in node projects? Or why do node projects keep investing in other node projects? I think the answer to that is because it's really easy for node projects to invest in other node projects. And if we look at the history of how node projects have invested their treasuries from the kind of ring, going through to Thor and to where we are today, you'll see a very, very slow evolution of sophistication. So what we're hoping to do with the treasury for Forest is bring a lot of those traditional finance principles of portfolio management, where you're really looking for risk-adjusted returns, where you're not looking to invest into other node projects. We're looking to invest into projects that have real yield, and you're looking at this at a very bespoke level, where you're trying to find what the protocol needs, what it needs at that point in time, and how to find risk-adjusted places to deploy that capital at that specific time in crypto. So it's a complicated riddle to solve because you've got high payouts and you've got risky places to put your capital in DeFi. And we can maybe get into that and if there are a few questions about where we're specifically looking to place capital. But in terms of what my qualifications are, I'm pretty well versed in the node space. I was one of the early investors in Ring, and like a lot of people, made and lost money in the node space and all the various waves of nodes and what happened there. And I'm very versed in VCs and RDOs in crypto. That's where I've had a lot of experience in crypto as well. So I know how a lot of the RDOs work. But the bulk of my financial experience comes through managing funds on behalf of third parties globally. So I'm comfortable there as well. And hopefully, with the way that we're managing our treasury through Forest, we're bringing a lot of those really professional principles through into what we do so that everything that we do, we take our fiduciary responsibility very highly. The way that we would, because a lot of what I do works with the Swiss banking system. So we bring a lot of that fiduciary responsibility through and actually have a massive obligation, at least I feel, to the investors whose money we're managing. Whereas what I see, I'll just maybe stop talking because I've been going on for a while now, what I see in the node space a lot is a lot of treasuries being managed a little bit flippantly. And I think a lot of protocols maybe not feeling that fiduciary responsibility to their investors, where really they're the ones that built the treasury at the end of the day. It was their money that built the treasury, and those protocols actually still have a responsibility to manage the money on behalf of those investors. And that's what I feel, and that's how I want to manage the treasury for our clients.
That was an excellent answer. Also, coming from of a real estate background, I often use the terminology, fiduciary requirement to the investors and everything. And I've never heard anyone else in the crypto space use that term of that sort of phraseology. So I value that, you use that. That made me feel good. But quality, clean answer, it's exactly what you want to hear, right? Somebody who's competent and understanding of not only the space and what needs to be done, but also, understands the gravity and the weight of the money that they're managing, right? It's not just cash in your pocket, right? It's people's dollars that they've sort of entrusted you to manage. So I think that was a very high quality answer there.
Yeah, I mean, one more point on that. I think what personally irritates me about the crypto space is that there's this kind of feeling that if things go pear-shaped and things go wrong for you as an investor, protocols are just allowed to say, and influencers and people who marketed products to you, they're just allowed to say, well, we said DYOR, and the cheesy phrase I have is like DYOR just means GTFO. And I sometimes just don't think that it's good enough. It's like, yes, you're supposed to do your own research, but that doesn't absolve the team and the treasury and the protocol of responsibility. So if things don't go well for the protocol and investors are starting to lose money and there's a lot of inflation in the nodes and things aren't happening properly, it doesn't mean that you can just jump ship and say, well, we said DYOR, it's crypto, you can't expect high returns without risk, goodbye. We're taking our ball and going home. And that attitude I find is quite prevalent. Whereas in any other field that was more regulated, if your investors were losing money and things weren't going well and your clients were dissatisfied, you would buckle down and say, cool, let's make this right with our clients. And so that I think is a much more professional approach. And that's the approach I would like to see happen more often in crypto. It's, I think, what crypto investors should be pushing more for protocols instead of just saying, well, DYOR, we should all be degens. I think they should actually be saying to protocols, no, you guys need to stick around and make this right. And it's certainly what I'll be pushing for in the treasury at Forest. And I think that's the spirit that we're working towards.
Quality answer. We're going to go ahead and bring up Teegers from Node Nation. What's going on, man?
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Cool. So, I've followed you guys for a bit, and you guys seem to be taking like a very professional approach to this project, which I appreciate. But the $1 million question with all these projects is sustainability. And there's kind of two levels of that, right? There's sustainability in terms of, reward emissions and not running out, but really the thing that matters is token price. And so I'm curious what you guys think in terms of what's your innovation in terms of being able to keep that token price up. Is it, about utility down the road? Is it about, really nice, like a really nice invested treasury that's, gives people confidence? What's your, kind of pitch in terms of token price, long-term sustainability? And I know we're, a while away from launch, but to me, that's kind of where the rubber meets the road. And I haven't heard you guys talk a ton about that. So I'd be curious kind of your thoughts on that.
Yeah, that's a pretty good question. We run some simulations, and if you look in our tokenomics, it says, we project a peak to about $400 and then stabilize to about 200 or like between 100 and 300. So, first things first, we can't promise that. If the market says your token is worth 2 cents, it's going to be worth 2 cents, right? If everyone sells, then that's it. You can't really do anything about that. But our plan to make it at the level we propose it to be at is by, first of all, making sure that we are very transparent, that we are just a baseline good project to invest in, right? You're not getting a lot of returns. But you're getting them, I guess, permanently. You're getting them safely, and there are systems in place that ensure that you get your investment back. As for actual, like concrete plans, we have a few. Obviously, it's going to be our token utility. We're going to be building a ecosystem around Forest, in which other projects that are environmentally friendly will want to join. Take, for example, our NFT marketplace that we're proposing to build. We are accepting other environmental friendly projects, and we have a few requirements for them. And one of which would be a royalty fee, which would go to our treasury or the Forest token itself. And the Forest token will be the base, the base currency for that marketplace. So yeah, again, we have utility coming, and we are working on a phase 2 of Forest Financial for after the node cap, because when a node project stops its node creation, then there's this huge gap in utility, and people are going to sell. But we learned from a lot of other projects that we need to figure that out before we launch. And we have figured it out for the most part. But one of the reasons that we're launching, I guess 2 months from now, is that we want to make sure that this works. Some people ask, well, why can't you launch in 2 or 3 weeks? We probably can do so. It's doable, but then the project will last maybe a couple months. While I would like to take the time to do extra research, make sure that we have the right utility in place, and planned utility. We want to have plans in place that ensure that the token price will not go low, or that we can somehow bring it back up to level should the market go down, right? So that's basically it. We're planning ahead. We're making sure that these utilities are going to be in place, and we will release news about that before the pre-sale. So we're not asking anyone to invest a lot of money in us, and then going down the road we'll be like, oh yeah, and we're gonna add this or add that sometime. No, we want to make sure that it's ready and available before the pre-sale, so that you can make an educated investment choice.
Cool. And I assume that's going to be your marketing or product pitch, right? I mean, if it's awesome that it would be before the pre-sale, because you can really, because I've been following you guys, and it's I know you're environmentally concerned, and that's an interesting aspect of the project, but it doesn't, at least from my perspective, feel they have this, innovative like product or, offering that would like get a lot of people hyped, or besides the awesome art, by the way. And so for me, I think working on that kind of message of, what makes you stand out and really being able to drive home like the future utility before like the pre-sale would be awesome. I think that would do wonders. So good luck. That's all I had. Thanks for answering my questions.
Yeah, I'd like to add one thing to that. We aren't necessarily going to be huge innovators in this space. We seek to become a baseline for other projects to follow. In the future, we want investors to look at a new project and see like, hey, this worked for Forest Financial. Why don't you implement this? We don't intend to be the most special, the most extravagant project. We just want to be a good baseline.
I think that's a really good, strong, modest goal. I like that.
Definitely. Thank you for your question.
So moving forward, why have the node up period and the launch be 1 month apart?
Yeah, so shall I answer you?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so basically, we think it requires some time to actually launch the project, and so we wanted some time between it. We want some preparations. We want to foresee bad things. So yeah, as Pim already mentioned before, we want to take our time to like develop a really good sustainable project with basically no flaws. So yeah, we have just decided. So for the pre-sale, we can do it next month, and we want to take another month for the full launch.
Gotcha. Makes sense.
That's
Better to take time and do it right. I fully support that.
Yeah, that's basically just the main reason. We don't want to rush anything. We want to do it good.
Mm-hmm. And those that say that we're taking too long, well, Rome wasn't built in one day, especially not Rome DAO. But why rush, right? Why? There's no reason to. Your money is still gonna be there. Your money is still gonna, you're still getting your return on investment, and it just takes a little longer to start. And you're not obligated to invest in us. You just need to see how it goes, and we will strive to make great things.
Oh yeah. So Bino also asked another great question of the ideal price action looks like your token will hover around $300 per token. What are you looking to do to help maintain that level as far as buybacks and various other use cases to help keep the price high?
Right, good question. So obviously there's an element of buybacking. We are calculating, how often and if we should do buybacks. Ideally not, but again, utility will make sure that the price will hover around 300. It could go higher. We wouldn't want the token to be too expensive, but also not too cheap. So we're going to think of measures, or we're going to implement measures that kind of make it at a reasonable level. Although it going higher is inevitably going to happen once we have a lot of utility.
Excellent. You guys coming out with these banger answers. I love it. It's really great. And again, if anybody wants to come up and ask a question, please feel free. Let's see here. So it's been a while since you guys launched your Discord. Do you feel that the volatile state of nodes as a service and DeFi as a service in crypto has affected your strategy for launch and the overall roadmap?
Yeah. Yeah. Do you want to answer this?
Go ahead.
So yeah, we have noticed a decrease in, I guess, interest in nodes or DeFi in general, right? Over the past month or two, there have been so many rugs. It's just not. People need a break, we think, or at least they're just taking things slow. So yes, it has slowed down, and the interest has I guess partially been lost, and we think that's so unfortunate because nodes are a great thing to start a project with. However, nodes are not sustainable, and they should definitely not be continued like after an initial capital has been gained. So that's what we're also trying to market, right? We're just using nodes for a while. There's going to be a node cap. It's not going to be unsustainable. So we're also trying to distance ourselves from nodes. We call our synthetic nodes yield trees, and we like to stick to that. So we try to move away from nodes. We call ours revenue generating assets. So that's basically it.
I like it. I really love when any type of business creates their own vernacular, right? You really start to change the culture in that space, right? As far as your little micro ecosystem. I think that's super important, right? Because as you build your own culture separate from the environment that you kind of come out of, the morale changes and people's outlook changes. And in this time, especially with the way the crypto market is and the overarching geopolitical sort of space that we're in, having sort of a protected ecosystem by creating your own vernacular and really building your own culture is super important. So I really like that.
I also think that like culture has a lot to do with the decrease in interest in node projects because, as Pim said, there have been so many rocks, but I believe that it can be turned around. That we can actually increase the interest in node projects again, because I believe that there have been so many rocks that people just distance themselves from node projects, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe that we can do something to increase the interest again.
Yeah, definitely.
100%. Wasabi wasn't here earlier. He wants to know if you guys are planning to create a node, to cap node yield, something like how the Drip network works. So basically, yield 1% a day for a max of 365% if people claim without doing any compounding.
We're not planning on it, like doing a cap. 1 second.
You're good.
I mean, we do have a decay function that's built into the nodes, so that functions similarly to the cap on the yield, because there is a decay component. But Pim, I don't know if you want to jump in. Sorry, I was just taking over while
it's not a decay to zero, right? There's always so first it's 0.14% a day, and then it moves to 0.06 for the first year after launch, and then 0.04. So it doesn't go to zero, but there is a decay, but there isn't like a maximum amount of force you can earn. We are thinking of possibly implementing that, or like planning to be able to implement such a thing, but for now there are no plans for that, and we don't think we will be doing that.
Okay, good answer there. I like the sort of certainty in your voice. Whether it's one way or another, it's always good to hear people in leadership say, "This is what's going to happen. This is what's going to happen," versus maybe. It yields uncertainty, right? And so I value that. That's a really good thing from you guys. Do you think that the public launch price of $75 may be a bit steep for some investors? And before you answer that, I would like to remind everyone that we're about to pass that 35-minute mark. So if you want to come up and ask a question, now is going to be the time, because we're usually shooting for around 45 minutes. So if you want to go ahead and answer that question about the price being too steep for some investors.
Sure, right? If you have $20 to your name, $75 is a lot. But if people with very little amount of money want to make huge returns, that's just not going to work. It's not reasonable or realistic to expect something like that. Ideally, you would have about, I guess, $750 to $1,000 to invest in our project. So if or even cheaper, right? If you buy in a pre-sale, you will get your ROI on a yield tree within like 30 to 40 days, which is quite awesome. After that, you're just making money. So you make your $1,000 back in 30 days. Great. And then it's just free profit. So $75 is a starting point, because a higher price usually also mentally, I guess, makes a coin higher quality, right? You think, oh, 75 or 100, that's a nice price. If it's 0.002, that makes me personally more think of a degen coin or something that I don't really want to take seriously. I like, for example, the price of AVAX. It's not too high, not too low, right? It's very easy for me to get a couple of AVAX, as for anyone here. But 75 is in our image a great price, and it has been taken into calculation as well. If we do any lower, the sentiment goes lower a bit. So there are reasons, calculated reasons behind it.
Yeah, can I add something to that?
Yeah.
Sure. So yeah, one of the things we wanted to prevent is that when we're going to launch with a price lower than 75, we might get the problem that at the start too many yield trees are being created, which might hurt us in the long term. So we want to just have a decent start with not too many yield trees created, because for the long term that might be not really well for us.
Yeah. I mean, if I could buy 5 yield trees for maybe $100. That's not really the idea behind it. Yield trees should be expensive if you buy them after public launch.
Yeah, makes sense. So when it comes to making treasury investments, is there any type of DAO design where people are getting a say as far as voting, or is it just going to be on the decision of the team so that you can move quickly and efficiently in executing investments when the time is right?
So there is going to be some capacity for the community to have involvement. The way we're structuring it is primarily it's going to be just the team that's making the decisions. We're going to have an internal investment council, which is going to be comprised of myself and Pim and 1 or 2 other internal decision makers who are going to make the large majority of the decisions. But there is a lot of value to be had from the community. We don't just want to leave that on the table. DeFi and crypto, it's a massive space, and there's a lot to cover. So we don't want to be exposed to what previous DAOs have had, which is the failure of DAOs being that just people make selfish decisions, and you get very sort of milquetoast responses and people voting just to put their money in Bitcoin or into protocols that they like, etc., etc. So I don't think DAOs necessarily work in that sense. However, you have a bunch of brilliant people in crypto investing in your protocols who have great ideas, so you don't just want to ignore them either. So the way we're approaching that at the moment is to say that the investment council, which is myself and Pim, and the internal people are going to make majority of the decisions. Like you say, we can move quickly. And we're going to have an external investment council, which is comprised of people in the community that are excited and want to get involved. Anyone in the community can recommend different investments and things they'd like the funds to be invested in. And then people who volunteered for the External Investment Council can put a bit of work in, veto those procedures, and shortlist them for me to take a look at. And I'll have a look at them every now and then. We'll have maybe a little bit of involvement in the community there, and stuff that passes, we'll pass up to the Internal Investment Council, and maybe it'll go through. So obviously we'd love involvement from the community, but at the end of the day, majority of the decisions will be made with us, and they still have to pass myself and Pim before we go through.
I love it. Excellent.
Well said.
So as we come into close here, are there any last remarks that if you guys could have one thing to say that's the most important part of Forest Financial that you want people to know and that is the takeaway, what would that be?
A very good question. We want to bring new investors into DeFi, not only Forest Financial. So in the coming months, we hope to do traditional marketing as well, and not just contribute to DeFi by making a solid baseline of a project, but also providing every project within DeFi with new investors. And I think that that's one of the things all of you are looking for right now. New money, new blood. So we are going to do our very best to be a net positive for DeFi. Beautiful.
I love it. Alrighty, guys. Well, we really appreciate you taking time out of your day to spend here with us at Node Nation. I'm Mascot again, and a thank you to the Forest Financial team for coming and sharing a little bit about your very exciting project. I really like a lot of what you guys are doing, from the pricing that you have on your tokens to the environmental assistance design, and also how you purchase your nodes with partial token and partial APEX. I think that you guys have a lot of really cutting edge stuff, and I'm really excited to see where you move forward. So that being said, big thank you to your community for coming out to spend time with us, and to the Node Nation community. And we will catch you guys on the next one. Thank you very much.